audience, welcome to the Radiant Eclipse MLP Talk Show. This is episode 15, recorded on Thursday, July 26, 2012. My name's Vanacus.
And I'm Pixicado.
And we'll be your guides to this wonderful world of rainbow-colored Equins. Please put your hooves together for this week's cast.
Greetings, everyone. I am Mastermind, Master of Ceremonies, and that's all I got, bro.
This week's guest is a Brony aspiring to become a great musician, Left Shifty, also known as Rolling Beat. Welcome to the show.
Hello everybody, my name is Rolling Beat. As said before, I am a new musician, although I don't have any stuff out yet. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks once I get my new mic. I mostly do vocal stuff. I'll probably be doing a lot of covers. And once I get mics for my drums, I'll be able to help out with anybody who needs a drummer. My favorite character is Octavia, and I would have her as an icon, but it turns out Pix already stole her. So my other favorite character would be Vinyl Scratch because of her awesome DJing-ness. My favorite episode is the Pinky Sense episode because it is absolutely hysterical. It reminds me of all the old like Looney Tunes, the Ren and Stimpy, the stuff like that, where it's all slapstick comedy and stuff like that. Oh man, it was just great. What I enjoy most about the fandom, I enjoy the creativity that comes with, putting stories on all the background ponies. It's amazing how you can take 7 seconds of something like Vinyl Scratch the first time you saw her, and then all of a sudden, we have possible backstories, all kinds of fan fiction. It's just crazy how little can turn into so much content.
I am Mastermind, future television reviewer, as I hope to be, and not so well-known Brony. My favorite character would have to be, in terms of main characters, it would be Twilight Sparkle, and that was pretty much confirmed after the season finale. And as for minor characters, I'm just gonna pick Derpy, because she's funny. As for a favorite episode, boy, isn't that the million-dollar question. I think my favorite serious episode would have to be The Canterlot Wedding. I mean, it's structured like a mini Disney film, and I'm being a fan of those Disney films, and I approve of how it all played out. And in terms of comedy, it's pretty much a tie between Mystery on the Friendship Express, A Friend Indeed, and Dog and Pony Show. What I like most about this fandom is its overall spontaneity, seeing how creative it can go. I mean, we've seen music, we've seen animations, we've even seen regular people just watching the show and giving their 2 cents about it.
So, hey everyone, my name is Vanacus, and I'm a podcaster, and I like doing web shows, and it's one of the reasons why I love doing this show. My favorite character is Pinkie Pie because she is random and silly and cheerful and optimistic. I'm very much the same way. Usually the more people I'm with, the better I'm feeling, and the more the merrier. My favorite episode is Hurricane Fluttershy from Season 2 because it has great animation and it was a wonderful character development episode for Fluttershy. We saw some really cool 3D effects, and just the scenery in general was outstanding. And there were some good lessons to the episode, so overall, nothing bad to say about it, and it's still one of my highest ranking episodes so far. But as far as finales go, I'm going to have to go with the Season 2 finale with the wedding. What do I enjoy most about the fandom? And that would have to be the Bronies' dedication and their ability to move on and continue with the show they love despite others and the flack they may give them for doing so. And I think that the herd is a good place to be, and let's keep it that way.
Hi everybody, my name is Pixicado. I am a musician and a producer, and I'm also the newest cast member of Radiant Eclipse. From now on, I will be a host on the show, and I'll also do some editing. So my favorite character, I'd say, would have to be Octavia, mostly because I play the cello and she plays the cello, and us cellists all gotta stick together, As for my favorite of the main 6, I'd have to say I'd agree with Vanacus. Pinkie Pie is an excellent character. I really admire how she's always willing to cheer other people up, even in the face of them possibly even hating her or disowning her. My favorite episode, I can't actually say I have one. I could literally list every single episode from the entire catalog and come up with a good reason why it should be my favorite episode. So I guess I'll just say all of them because it's such a wonderful show and I can't think of an episode that stands out. As for my favorite aspect of the fandom, I'd have to say it's just how much sheer friendship is part of this community. I mean, I guess it would make sense that a show that's basically about friendship would have a community that's this full of friendship. But honestly, For example, I'm part of a community called Cloudsdale. Every single time I go on that website, I'm immediately greeted with a barrage of people who have just sort of this limitless amount of love and compassion, and I really enjoy being part of something like that.
I'd like to think that the show overall represents the best of humanity.
And how such a cartoon even created that philosophy. So, now that everyone's been introduced, it's time to start the show.
Every week we set aside some time to learn about our guest and how they become the awesome bronies we know. So B, how did you become a brony?
I became a Brony by watching a video on YouTube. It wasn't an actual episode. It was a short, minute and a half snippet of someone parodying a letter to Princess Celestia. Of course, I've heard about the show before, and of course, I was thinking, oh, My Little Ponies, how can people like this? And I watched this little clip because the guy who posted it made a very good parody of another show I like, and I'm listening to it, and I'm like, this animation's really good. If the parody is anything like the original script, this is actually kind of good, and I actually got a chuckle out of it. So a couple weeks later, and seeing more pony-related stuff at around midnight, I didn't go to sleep until around 3 o'clock that morning. And of course, it was the thing where I saw one episode, okay, this is all right. I see another episode, no, stop it. And then by the end of it, I'm like, oh no, I like this. So, yeah, ever since then, I've been watching a lot of the episodes. Still haven't finished season 2, though. Gonna have to keep up on that. And I found sites like Ponyburu, Derpyburu, and then recently EFR, where I had no idea how expansive this fandom was. I mean, I didn't know about any musicians. I didn't know about any of the fan fiction, unless of the fan art that I've seen on any of the board sites. It's just amazing to me, and I love the show because of it.
All right, so you said you were interested in making music. So what's your favorite genre and why?
Honestly, I don't really have a favorite genre. I love all types of music, but if I had to pick, I like rock and all the subcultures of rock, punk, metal, all that kind of stuff. But the things I really like to listen to and sing to are theater kind of pieces, like stuff from musicals and stuff like that. And it's ironically the stuff I kind of sing best.
Are there any particular musicals you're a fan of, like in the film variety?
Oh, one of my favorites besides, Wicked, obviously, has got to be Memphis, if any of you have seen it. To spare a summary, it's basically a white boy starts a black news station, and it, brings out rock and roll for the first time, and everybody loves it.
So outside of the brony community and My Little Pony, which bands inspire you the most?
A big inspiration for me as far as drumming goes was definitely Avenged Sevenfold, especially after their drummer died. I wanted to. I didn't want to. Well, of course, I wasn't nearly good enough to replace him, but I just wanted to learn all of his songs and just try to better myself because he seemed to be such a good player to look up to. And as far as singing, I just kind of developed that on my own. I don't really have any people I look up to.
So, which brony musicians would you like to collaborate with to make music?
Well, I guess Sketchy, since he offered me once. Honestly, I don't really mind. If absolutely anybody wants to collab with me, I'll be more than happy to oblige.
So as far as you said that you were interested in singing, but have you ever considered voice acting at all?
Honestly, no. But if someone were to give me the option to, I would, I would be interested in trying it.
Do you know there's a program on EFR called Reading Rainbow where people can use their voice acting talents to read fanfics to the audience? Is that something you'd be interested in?
Yeah, actually, I was thinking at the first time when I saw the first episode, it's like maybe I'd like to, I don't know, narrate. I don't know about voice act, but I can definitely read. I don't know. Maybe I will hit him up sometime.
All right. So, which music genres do you think bronies need to improve?
I guess I'd like to see more theater and maybe more. I don't know if it's just because I'm not looking hard enough, but I've only heard a couple of jazz songs, and I love jazz. So maybe a little of both those categories.
As far as your future career in music is concerned, Brony Dance Party is one of several animators who makes PMVs. Do you think your music would work better with clips from the show or custom-made clips for your project?
Honestly, I haven't really looked that far into the future. All I'm planning to do right now is just to do a bunch of covers, pony related and otherwise. But if I do get adventurous enough to writing my own music, then hey, whichever works. I'm not picky. Either clips from the show or PMVs or Brony Dance Party doesn't matter to me.
So everyone has their speculations about Season 3, and it seems that Hasbro has intentionally or accidentally left us clues on their website, because hidden in one of their quizzes was a vector image of a changeling-like antagonist. He has a dark coat and masculine features. He even has green eyes, like Chrysalis. In fact, if I didn't know any better, I would say he's supposed to be the king of the changelings. So, what do you all think? He's definitely a type of changeling, but what does this mean for Equestria?
He's either the king of the changelings or he's Chrysalis' son.
Ooh.
He's either a henchman character or a banished prince. Either way, it lends itself to some possibilities.
Yeah, because the metal disc on his head does look like a crown.
Actually, when I first saw this guy, I kind of thought he looked sort of like a general of some kind, perhaps. Like maybe he had something to do with the Changeling Army. Ooh.
That's possible, too.
He does have a bit of a rogue look to him, so he's either a banished general or fallen prince or something of that nature, or, he's either in the ranks as them or he was banished and out on his own.
Yeah, I more like the idea that he was banished out of the equestrian army, because I don't know if it's just because I haven't seen the finale yet, but honestly, he doesn't look that much of a changeling to me.
I think specifically what's giving it away is not only the dark coat or how he has the fangs, but the horns specifically, since unicorns or alicorns for that matter don't have their horns drawn that way.
That ain't no unicorn horn, bro.
Well, if that were true, would you think that there were actually holes going through that horn?
That is an interesting question, but I'm assuming he's a male character, so maybe their body makeup may be different in that way. And also it's red. That's interesting. I don't know if he's about to cast a spell or if it's just normally like that. And also purple flaming eyebrows. I mean, and does anyone think of Samurai Jack with Aku?
Yep.
I haven't thought of that until now.
I'd like to think that he's some new equine species they're trying to introduce.
Kind of like a hybrid between changeling and pony.
I don't think they would go far into combining the two, but I think they would try to keep things as truthful as possible. I think that what we have here is a new equine species that will probably be introduced.
If you want to know my idea, I think he's something different altogether. You know how we have Discord as the embodiment of chaos, and then Chrysalis, who's more of the hive mind kind of figure. From looking at this guy, he might be something along the lines of being the embodiment of hatred and revenge and stuff like that.
He could be a resident of Tartarus. We need to expand that backstory.
Or, yeah, Tartarus. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that is a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, who or what is Cerberus guarding down there? And maybe this character has something to do with it.
Destroy us all!
Now that we got the possible origin out of the way, it makes me wonder who will voice this character.
Ooh, that's an even better question.
I have not a clue.
Yeah, I sort of imagine his voice as being kind of deep and growly.
If they get Jim Cummings in there, that would be so awesome. If you're familiar with Darkwing Duck or Winnie the Pooh and stuff like that.
I think it should be voiced by Tom Kenny, the voice actor behind SpongeBob. Just completely blindside us.
That guy's pretty versatile, though. I bet he could think of something for this character.
And it's not like Tom Kenny couldn't play an antagonist, because he does the Ice King pretty well on Adventure Time.
More on the level of the silly antagonist. I'd kind of like to see a serious antagonist type of voice with him.
Yeah, because we already got Discord as our silly antagonist, so if this guy is more, opposite of love, if he is the spirit of hatred or anger, then maybe something more fitting.
Man, if Discord is the silly antagonist, then I'd hate to know what this guy would be like.
I'd like to see John Glover voicing him for some reason.
I don't really have any voice actors in mind, more because I don't know that many, but I'm picturing his voice to be kind of like deep and foreboding, but also very confident.
Oh, I think I know the perfect person who should voice him then. Keith David. Are you familiar with Gargoyles?
God, I wish I could remember that show. Yes, I know it.
Are you familiar with The Princess and the Frog?
A little bit.
Do you remember the villain?
Oh, him?
Yeah, if you know that villain, then there you go.
Anything to add, Pix?
No matter what we talk about here, it's all going to be speculation. And I don't even really like speculation. I'd rather have it be a surprise who this guy is.
Agreed.
But that's part of the fun. It's our job as fans to do this kind of thing.
And be utterly disappointed when it actually comes out. Just kidding.
If he even comes out. For all we know, this is just some prototype character that never made it past the planning stage.
Well, we can live the dream. That's what fanfics are for.
Oh man, now I'm looking for a fanfic for this guy.
Oh, God.
And I'm assuming that because of this show, if not beforehand, somebody has already done so.
I'm just wondering what kind of crazy fanon personality people are going to come up with just based off of this picture.
Something tells me if when they watch this show and I mention Keith David, I think people will get some ideas.
So, in keeping with this whole villain thing, I'd like to introduce another topic about villains. Actually, I'd like to bring up a point that's bothered me since the first time I watched My Little Pony. The fact is, a lot of antagonists like Trixie, Gilda, Chrysalis, and Diamond Tiara, to name a few, are shown as purely bad characters. In my own opinion, many of these antagonists actually could have been developed further in the show. I actually find villains a lot more compelling when their characters have some good aspects to their personalities as well. So I have to ask, would you develop any of the antagonists of My Little Pony further, and if so, which ones?
Oh, of course. I'm going to get the obvious one out of the way. Trixie. Moreover, because all of the fan canon that's been made about her, and I would just really like to see the writers come through and give her some more development, especially since Twilight Sparkle gave a little nudge of maybe she'll learn her lesson another day or something like that.
Yeah, I was at the Comic-Con panel for My Little Pony, and I know that the writers, Megan McCarthy, definitely actually did. They answered a question about Trixie, and they sort of alluded that Trixie might appear later in the series, so maybe, if she does, that'll be the development for her personality.
I hope she gets development too, because I pretty much found that most magicians do the whole boasting thing to hype up their act anyway. She wasn't really, doing that to be a show-off, because most magicians usually do that anyway.
Kind of like how Iron Will was roughing up his crowd to get them excited.
Oh yeah!
Yeah, and at the end of that episode, they had this sort of thing where, in the end, he wasn't actually that bad. He was just kind of trying to hype it up.
He was a pitchman, if not anything.
He was just doing his job.
And the Flim Flam brothers, I personally don't think they needed to be evil at all, because they were out to distribute a quality product.
Yeah, it's not until they really became full of themselves and started cutting corners. Like, if they would have just stuck with their original product, they could have gotten the sales of Ponyville just solely on the fact that they quickly released a good product.
Yeah, that was the thing, and I think that is where their development could come from. They could realize what they're doing, and, well, they can build up on that.
Or what if they go to another city that we haven't seen yet, like Trottingham, where Lil Pip, where Pipsqueak is from, and maybe we can see them with another crazy new invention and maybe some new scam, and maybe they'll have a turnaround. Maybe they'll be scammed, and episode will be more about them coming to terms and maybe having to win a competition the straight and narrow way because they're under, I don't know, maybe more watchful scrutiny.
Yeah, I can sort of imagine them developing sort of an episode about forgiveness and forgetting people's past errors about these sort of antagonists actually turning out to be not that bad.
Like second chance episodes.
Yeah. Still, I think one of the most entertaining characters to develop would be Chrysalis, because, in that episode, she is just so bad and so evil. There's literally nothing good about her, so perhaps...
Well, there's nothing good about her except the whole reason she's invading is for her people. She's very patriotic for the changelings, but she's downright evil, you're right. So, it's like corrupted kindness, in a way.
I found that the changelings, as they were portrayed in this show, were just one step down of succubi. Horrible demons.
The thing is, you think that people that ate love could find a better way to get love than, sucking it out of people. Wouldn't evolution sort of make their methods a little bit more efficient than that, huh?
And to think about it, if they're absorbing love, then why aren't they showing love, and thus, kind of ending that vicious cycle. I mean, you're absorbing so much of it, you think you would be full of love. I mean, isn't that what it's about?
The law of conservation of love.
Well, maybe the only reason they invaded in the first place was just because they thought the ruse was blown, so screw the rules, we're invading.
Team Changeling is blasting off again?
Oh yes, that little scene.
So many people have made jokes of it. I know, I've seen them. So basically the answer to the question is, yes, most of these villains deserve character development.
Yeah, a lot of characters could use some development, but then if you take into consideration the fact that this is a children's show for children who may not understand the way things work, then, it might be kind of hard to actually give good sides to characters like Chrysalis. It's definitely a lot easier to treat them as just bad.
Well, I think what they should do is just try to aim for both. Because, as Walt Disney was quoted as saying, you're dead if you just aim for kids.
And I think the the creators already do a good job of aiming towards that family demographic and not trying to dumb down the lessons or coddle the audience, but doing it in a creative way that everyone can enjoy.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty good about that, but I think there's some things that little kids would just be like, whoa, what?
Yeah, like with Chrysalis, a lot of it is about war and really war tactics, which there isn't a lot of good that comes out of that. And trying to put it in friendlier terms, or even simpler terms, because war is a very in-depth conflict that's, persistently happening on our world. So trying to put it into terms in a cartoon for younger audiences, that must be a really big challenge for them.
Yeah, you can't focus solely on the younger audience, but at the same time, you have to keep in mind that a lot of things are just going to go right over their heads if they're made too complicated.
Well, that'd be fine. Like, I think sometimes it's better that way because, I mean, that's why there are people around protesting these kinds of things.
And let's not forget, other animation studios like Disney have done movies on war that were made specifically for younger kids. I take that back. Maybe for family too. This is kind of going back to the Disney and Hasbro kind of having those similarities again. Mulan. I'm pretty sure that movie was about a war and about an oncoming invasion. What was it? Was it the Hun?
Yep, Huns.
So war has existed in feature-length cartoons, and really these animated movies are more like extended TV shows if you really want to break them down like that.
We also got Batman the Animated Series as well.
So we know these shows are capable of expressing themes and lessons related to war, but in a show that's about love, tolerance, and friendship, they still manage to put it in without candy coating it. And I think it's a really interesting topic. Like, where do you draw the line as far as war is concerned?
I'd say that you'd probably draw the line at the point where it actually turns to, to the point where people are actually dying. That's sort of when you sort of draw the line, I think, these days.
Yeah, and I believe it was Jason Thiessen who said that they weren't allowed to include darker themes such as death. That was against the rules downright, but they said there will be many times in Season 2 when they would face life-periling situations, and so far he's kept that promise.
Which is kind of a shame considering that Lauren Faust did say that she wanted to make the show a bit more edgy.
Yeah, but I mean, if you take a show like this, once you bring into the mix things like death and gore and violence, then you sort of throw it out of the whack, because you have this colorful pastel show that's about happiness and friendship. It's a reason why a lot of grimdark fics just sort of seem out of place.
Well, I find that it's all about balance. Like, if you can somehow complement those mature elements into the show, then it just works out fine. But if there's an off balance between the much more mature elements and the kidified nature of the show. Like, if one episode feels more kidified and the other one feels way too dark and violent, then that's where it all collapses on itself.
Kind of like
Batman the Animated Series.
Batman is a pretty good example for dark cartoons that don't cross the line, that still have comedic aspects, but are still pretty violent nonetheless. And I think other superhero shows kind of fit the same category. And even more young youth oriented shows like Adventure Time, which are solely based off of combat and fighting and slaying monsters, but are still typically pretty positive nonetheless.
And I find an example of a properly character-oriented show that's both fun and well-written is Spectacular Spider-Man. And I say spectacular, not ultimate.
I think that the way that My Little Pony manages to bring these sort of darker themes into the mix is by not necessarily dumbing them down, but putting them into a context where, people aren't actually dying, or rather ponies aren't.
I.e. pie to the face.
It's a sign of good writing, to say the least.
Yeah, there may not be death, but there sure is a lot of banishment, that's for sure.
And being imprisoned in a place you're banished to.
But I think the element of implied death is just as powerful.
Or maybe it's just a loophole they're exploiting.
Yeah, if they just don't exploit it too much, writers. As most of us know, there are many fans of Friendship is Magic, and that goes without saying. The ending to A Canterlot Wedding left a few implications, and therefore material for future episodes. So with that, I ask, what story bits from the past should and should not make a return for future episodes? Are there any storylines one could care less about if they were to be continued?
So as we mentioned before, we were talking about perhaps Trixie getting a little bit more character development in the future. And, I guess you could sort of bring it into this question. I think that would make a good future episode with, Trixie perhaps coming back to Ponyville and initially meeting some skepticism, but eventually getting to be accepted.
Ooh, there's something I'd like to see in Season 3. More episodes with Pound Cake and Carrot Cake, the new foals that are a part of the Cake family.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't know how they would expand on that because they seem more like side characters at this point.
Well, I know that they've at least been shown in a couple of other episodes, but...
I know, I'm just saying. I mean, they're just baby ponies that just learn how to walk. How many story bits could there be?
Well, honestly, even if they're just shown, it helps cement them as characters in that universe.
Kind of like how Cranky Doodle returned in the Spike Quest episode.
It's like, oh yeah, we know that guy, or that donkey.
Yeah, even if they don't continue the storylines, they sometimes throw in little references to past storylines just to let you know that they know about the places that the show has been before.
Ooh, like with the Gabby Gums episode when one of the news articles was about the great and powerful Trixie. And so even though Trixie didn't appear in Season 2, she got a mention, kind of reminding the audience that she's still a character in the show, that she wasn't forgotten.
And that was the only bit that I actually liked from that episode.
I like that episode.
Well, I did not. I would explain why, but it would take a lot of time to explain.
Another day.
Gotta love honesty.
Well, let's talk about the flip side of that coin. Are there stuff that we do not want to see from the show ever?
Ooh, I kind of have to agree with Mastermind from some of his past episodes, and that Diamond Tiara as a character is unsufferably annoying. And I don't know if that's just because it's genius writing, but they do such a good job making an intolerable character. It just, I get frustrated every time she has screen time. And I don't know whether to scream or to applaud.
I think it's absolutely necessary, though, because there has to be some sort of, there doesn't have to be, but it does help to have a sort of almost evil, kind of bully-like character for some of the other fillies to stand up to.
Yeah, she definitely makes a good antagonist for the CMC.
I will not deny that, because in her other episodes, she at least served a purpose, but in that one particular episode that shall not be named, she went way too far in there. And from a side of that, from a character's perspective, do we really want to see a character like this in a show like this?
Well, yeah. She's a great catalyst for conflict with the fillies.
Or even more interesting, what if she has a character and maybe we learn why she's so rotten? I mean, we know she has her really wealthy parents. What if instead of actually loving her, they just try to buy all of her affection? And maybe that's why she's so sour.
Well, if they can make an episode that kind of expands on that maybe that would reconsider my choice of making her worst pony.
I could imagine that the writers would think that, if there was something going on with her family, that might be a little bit dark for the audience, but...
Well, there was something huge that happened with Twilight's family with Shining Armor, and we didn't learn about that till the season finale. So, I don't think it's ever too late for them to expand on characters, especially if we want more episodes for the future seasons.
True.
I mean, I wouldn't rule it out, is what I'm saying.
I guess the only thing we can talk about is, what we can speculate from future episodes. Maybe some more species being featured in. Somebody tells me they'll introduce gargoyles in this one.
Gargoyles would be cool. Some sort of sentinel or guardian. The schmooze.
Oh goodness, the schmooze.
The smooze. This was actually from the older generations of My Little Pony, and it's popular right now for making reoccurrence in the Friendship is Witchcraft parody season by Sherlock Pones.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, that's where I know it from.
But this really did exist, and it's kind of, there was this witch, and she's animating this giant kind of purple sludge river of gaping mouths, and it's just...
That could lend itself to that very that well-anticipated villain crossover.
It would.
I mean, get Discord, Chrysalis, and all the other villains in the room, and I'm pretty sure they will have that same idea. Make it happen, people! And regarding if they're gonna put gargoyles in there, they better make the head gargoyle voiced by Keith David. Wouldn't that be a load of irony?
And why would that be a load of irony?
Because he voiced Goliath in that show, the main character.
Oh!
Oh, but there you go. The more you know.
Also, sea ponies from the earlier generations. And because there's such a huge amount of fan art for sea ponies that I think we really need a sea pony episode. And I'm not sure how quick they are to add stuff from older generations, but hey, a lot of the characters and background ponies have names from older generations. A lot of the background characters look like older characters. If anything else, even though they may not admit it, they tend to include a lot of stuff from earlier generations.
The earlier generations weren't so bad.
I mean, even going as far in the To Find a Pet episode to give a throwback Rainbow Dash reference with the scarf. So, they're capable of making these references, but I want to see something meaningful and lasting. And kind of going back to that establishing fanon and making more canon material for us to work with.
I think they kind of did that because from what I found out, that Dragon's Quest was just a rehash of a G1 episode.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm not very familiar with the older generations.
Well, neither am I. This was just something a friend of mine on Twitter pointed out. I'll just close on saying, yes, in fact, there are things we would like to see in future episodes, and there are also things that we don't want to see in future episodes. But I guess how they implement them is up to the writers. Just don't screw it up!
Now, there's one element that separates Bronies from other fandoms, and it's their generous disposition towards others. That's right, folks. We're gonna talk about the Brony Thank You Fund. The fund exists to promote and collect donations to aid charitable organizations, especially those centered around children. Your gifts will be bundled together with those of many other Bronies and passed on to charities in the name of friendship. Now, my question is, why don't other fandoms have charities like this? Is it because of love and tolerance, or is it because we're so grateful we just want to give back?
Man, I can't say I've been part of enough other hardcore fandoms to actually know what kind of things other fandoms do for this.
The closest thing I can think of that has this kind of thing is, I think gamers like to do this kind of thing. Where they play games for charity. I'm pretty sure Screw Attack and Blistered Thumbs do this kind of thing once and again.
And Gabe Newell of Valve, as well as Notch of Minecraft, have definitely given their fair share of money to the community.
Yeah.
Example I might have is an old podcast I used to do, an anime podcast, and once the tsunamis hit in Japan, they held all sorts of charity things to send over there when it happened.
Yeah, but it's definitely true that I see a lot more of this from Bronies than other fandoms, because it's not just the Brony Thank You Fund. There's a lot of stuff out there that's for charity and donating things to people who need it.
I think I find that this has more to do with the times we live in, because we're in a bad recession right now.
That's true, but there's still a lot of other fandoms out there who aren't giving money.
Well, maybe it's not just money. Maybe there's plush makers for charity, stuff like that.
Yeah, and another aspect of it is I think that a lot of Bronies just associate so much with the Brony tag that they sort of bring Bronyism into things that don't necessarily have to do with My Little Pony. Like, there are a lot of charities out there that don't relate to any specific fandom or anything. It's just that people who like My Little Pony generally tend to associate that with a lot of other things in their lives.
Yeah, and that way, it's interesting, because you see a lot of fans of the show kind of taking the morals and lessons to heart, not liking the show ironically, but actually, appreciating and living the lessons that are being taught. And, I don't see that done with a lot of TV shows.
Gotta thank the writers for that one.
Yeah, one of the things that makes the show so special is that, it teaches you things. It's not like, I read an article about this, it's not like one of those shows that's just like, sure, love and tolerance is a part of it, but that's not the entire thing. It teaches so much.
It's all about relevance.
Yep, that too.
In a generalized way, yes.
Yeah, but what works about this show, I find, is that it's at least relevant, though that may depend on who the watcher is, but it's relevant at least to me.
I usually try to take those lessons to heart, especially since I'm going to be going off to college soon. Hopefully I can bring those lessons with me.
Yeah, I think that no matter who you are, there are lessons that this show can teach you.
So in conclusion, I can just simply say we should at least be grateful that somebody's doing something in these harsh times.
I guess we can all just say that to the organizers of the Brony Thank You Fund, yeah, it's a really good charity, and I like charities. I don't have much money to donate to them, but still, I support things that you guys do and that everybody who is donating for a better cause.
Yeah, like there's the Seeds of Kindness charity, there's the Because I'm a Girl charity that Michelle Creever likes to put a lot of her time into. You know, there's so much that the community's doing, and I just want to see that continue.
And I'm sure will continue.
Every little bit helps.
Agreed.
Hey everyone, don't forget to go check out EverFree Radio's other great programs like Stay Brony My Friends by Dusty Cat, which airs every Monday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Time.
Then at 4 p.m. Pacific on Tuesday, be sure to check out the high-quality fanfiction readings brought to you by one of EFR's newest series, Reading Rainboom. When it's over, also tune in to the Cutie Art Crusaders at 6 p.m. Pacific.
The next day, be sure to tune in to one of my personal favorites, Equestrian Inquirer, at the same time for all of your pony broadcasting needs. Joe Stevens and Tech Rat have been highly praised for their superb news-finding expertise and offer everything you could possibly desire.
Also, be sure to tune in to the Sketchy Sounds live songcast every Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific. He's a great musician, and if there's any music you want to hear him play live, join the chat and send your requests. But wait, there's more.
Then, on the same day at 7 p.m. Pacific, tune into the Brony Breakdown. It's a live stream show hosted by Saber, Sark, and Paleo. If you want a program that's similar to our own and specializes in cool media like artwork, music, and videos, be sure to add this new program to your agenda. You won't regret it.
And every pony loves Fridays, and so does your Queen of the Night, Nightmare Moon. Join her as she takes over alongside the Lunar Republic at 4 p.m. Pacific, so viewers like you can directly request your favorite songs from various Brony musicians.
And you'd regret missing out on Saturday Night Songs with Michelle Creeber, the voice of Apple Bloom and singing voice of Sweetie Belle, as she joins the EFR audio stream and premieres her new music and interacts with the audience live in the IRC chat. You can find her program live at 7 p.m. Pacific.
And to finish off this week before you hear from us again on Sunday, tune in to A State of Brony at 1 p.m. Pacific on Saturday and listen to the best trance, house, and electronic music in all of Equestria. If you have any questions or would like to join this program as a co-host or guest, you can find me in the EverFree Radio IRC chat, or if you want to know more about our program, be sure to visit our page on EverFree's main site. We're always looking for new speakers, and if you have the passion, we look forward to working with you in the future.
Thanks for your time.
See you online.
Princess Cadence needs our help. Her magic will not last forever. I think we can do it, but we need to work together. We have to get this right. Yes, we have to make this